See, that's another thing. I'm coming at you through the Rumble live stream. You guys should have audio now. Oh, and frankly, the audio problems, the weird code switching that was happening in Restream was on the list of reasons I was looking to ditch Restream. So I'm coming at you through the Rumble studio this morning, and we'll see how it works out. Anyway, good morning. We're going to talk this morning about, well, frankly, y'all remember this banger? Elon said, I love Twitter. This is back in 2017. Dave Smith says, you should buy it then. Now, obviously, we believe that Dave was making a joke, but then Elon says, how much is it? And let me tell you something. The world, when we saw that tweet, thought that Elon was being funny. And maybe he was. Maybe that's how it started. But the thing that has happened since then, let's make no bones about it. Elon Musk won this election. If it had not been for the purchase of Twitter by Elon Musk, there is a high degree of probability that we would have missed out on some very important news items that had a major effect on this last election. A good example, COVID misinformation. Shortly following Joe Biden's election, the second the second election that Donald Trump won, there were people being thrown off of all major media platforms, actual doctors who were talking about vaccine efficacy, vaccine harm, et cetera, et cetera. And if it had not been for the purchase of Twitter by Elon and changing it into X and doing away with a lot of that misinformation, you'd be looking at a world where, we might be able to get that information, but you can go back to the same time period. Like, we were never completely removed. This show, The Brushfire Mind, was never completely removed. Like, the channel continued to exist, but we had several shows that were taken down. One of the first big strikes we had, I'm glad Cameron's watching this morning. Cameron and I had a discussion on air about not even the efficacy of the vaccine. In fact, at the time, we were pretty happy about the results of Operation Lightspeed and the fact that the vaccine, it was quick response, quick reaction. Hey, we have a problem. Here's a solution. And a great piece of that was the Donald was able to come in and say, no, okay, fuck all this red tape, get it done. Right? We have a problem, and that problem needs to be solved quickly and effectively. Now, it looks like there was another problem that was not adequately identified, and that was the corruption of the pharmaceutical companies. But Cameron and I had a discussion on air back then about whether or not the thing that they call a vaccine should even rightfully be called a vaccine, because they're the new mRNA vaccines, and they are scientifically, medically, mechanically, technically distinct from what we think of as a vaccine. And so in that episode, we didn't even ask the question so much whether or not the vaccine was safe or whatever. We had a very kind of technical and philosophical discussion about the symbology of language and whether or not it was reasonable to take a thing which is clearly not a vaccine by traditional definition and say that this is the same thing as this other thing. And of course, that conversation is important. For example, if you take a thing that is not another thing, like, I don't know, a man, and say that it's a woman, then you end up with a situation like what we had at the Olympics and the boxer, who, by the way, we now know that the woman that we had all this stuff about, oh, well, maybe she has some sort of hermaphroditia, is just she was born with a high testosterone count. Yes, she was born with a very high testosterone count because she was born with a penis. Apparently, the medical records, it turns out it was a micro penis. She is not well endowed, but she is, in fact, a he. Medically, genetically. But we pretend like You can call one thing another thing, and suddenly your apples just don't still carry a citric acid content. But they do, because your comparison is not the same as an actual conversion. So, Donald Trump won the election. We all know that. And what has happened since then? Well, it has been an absolute apocalypse for the left. Joe Rogan explains why liberal media is hemorrhaging audiences. You're not accurate, you're delusional. And that was a big chunk of it, right? Trump went on Rogan. It was a fantastic interview. If you guys haven't watched the Trump interview with Rogan or the J.D. Vance interview with Rogan, they were both excellent. And quite frankly, I think everybody should go watch them, even though we've already won the election. And let's be fair, the point to those interviews was to influence so-called undecided voters. But we can have the conversation about whether or not there's such a thing as an undecided voter again at another time. But they were both very interesting interviews, and largely because what you had is Joe Rogan. I mean, for anybody who's been living under a rock and isn't familiar, Joe Rogan does a 3-hour podcast, has a guest, and they have a conversation for 3 hours. There's a reason they do it for 3 hours, right? When you sit down and have a drink with your buddies and just chit chat, that conversation will take roads. It'll go places. Like I see Patrick and Cameron are watching both of them simultaneously on many occasions in the past. The three of us have sat down together and just cracked a couple of beers or a bottle of Macallan. Oh, boys, we need to get together. We need to get you boys pick the day. You let me know, and we will turn our phones off and go back in the middle of the woods with a $200 bottle of scotch and have one of these conversations, because it's been a hot damn minute. Is Steve watching? Because I need old One Eye here too. Not you, Steve, the other Steve. But what have you. Anyway, you sit down, you start drinking, and you just run in your mouth for 2, 3, 4 hours. 3 hours is about that sweet spot. That's about, how long are you really going to hang out? Because you get together when you've got the time to do it. Maybe you barbecue, maybe you're having some drinks. But, until you start talking about throwing a party where everybody's pitching tents, or you're blowing up the air mattresses and you're having a Steve-a-palooza and everybody's getting shit-faced and then eating a great big breakfast casserole together the next morning, even then, 3 hours is about the length you can expect out of a conversation without it breaking apart, going here and there. So it is what it is. Oh, Cameron says, I'm not currently consuming alcohol. I salute you for your efforts there, brother, but I bet I can get you to eat some red meat. Close enough. Anyway, point being, you sit down for 30 minutes, like to do the podcast, to do this show, for example. And I know we wander off, but there's a general topic, and that's what we're working for, even if you've got some anecdotes here and there. But that long format, right? You get some war stories, you talk about some Dungeons and Dragons, maybe some Magic the Gathering, maybe some football, maybe some baseball, maybe some politics. You kind of meander through here and there, and one conversation splits off to another, and then they come back on themselves. And you very much got that with the Trump interview, and it was massively successful. Right? It was actively suppressed by intentional algorithms, or not algorithms even. There's clear evidence that the podcast with Rogan and Trump was actively suppressed by YouTube. And the result was still one of the highest viewerships on any YouTube video ever. Now, don't get me wrong. I understand there are videos out there that have 1 billion views or more, and it didn't get anywhere near that. But those videos, go look at them, and it's, they've picked up 1 billion views over 3, 4, 5, 6 years, right? Music videos that we all go, you go back and see again and again. I've probably, over the last 10 years, I've probably watched the the video of Blues Traveler jamming the van, doing the song, but anyway, a dozen times over the last 10 years. You know, Bernstein's Mass, Counting Crows. Sure, we watch those videos over and over again, but the Rogan-Trump conversation, it broke 100 million views overnight. And that was with active intentional suppression being a part of the math. So that is clear evidence that there is a massive shift going on in media generally. And I think Elon actually said, and if he did, he said it best, we are the news now. We are the news now. You know, even this is a small channel. I know what I do and who I am. We're a small channel, but I told Cat Turd this morning. He said something about, what was it? Oh, he said, does anybody else feel massive relief now that we've won the election? And I said, hey, Cat Turd, you know, he's got a much, much bigger following than I do. But I made the point, you know, it's not just relief, brother. It's not just relief. We've just come to the end of a mission. We've completed a mission. We engaged, we fought the war, and we enjoyed a victory. Now that we're enjoying that victory, we're starting to see the results include the left just falling apart. And I want to share this with you. Okay, I gotta click that button, and then this button. And no, come on now. Okay, I just learned a thing.
We have some very serious news right now. Elon Musk is now publicly joking about the possibility of buying MSNBC from Comcast. And Joe Rogan is even joking about the possibility of taking Rachel Maddow's spot on MSNBC should.
Okay, before we hear the rest of that, let me remind you, when we say that Elon Musk is joking about possibly buying MSNBC, like I said at the beginning, this is where it started. I love Twitter. You should buy it then. How much is it? So let's hear what this kid has to say.
Elon Musk buy MSNBC. Now, if you don't know this, Comcast announced earlier this week that it would be spinning off a number of its channels, including MSNBC, CNBC, and others.
And it announced that, when it announced that, it was very explicit. Comcast said very explicitly that it's getting rid of those channels because their ratings are in the toilet. They're losing money. They are a weight. They are an albatross around the neck of any broadcasting system.
On Twitter, Elon Musk and Donald Trump Jr. started to joke about possibly putting in an offer for MSNBC, which is, to many, the leading news source for progressive or for Democratic-leaning news. Folks, this shift.
And he even said specifically, it is the leading news source for progressive or left-leaning news. See, your Tim Pools, your even Steven Crowder, right? Steven Crowder is lambasted often as as super far right, you know, what have you. But a lot of people get their news from your Steven Crowders, your Tim Pools, your Ben Shapiro's, et cetera, et cetera. But the people that get their news there get their news from everywhere. There have been massive studies on this. Left-wing voters get their news 90% from sources like CNN, MSNBC, et cetera, right? Whereas conservative voters and middle-of-the-road voters, they get their news from multiple sources. They get their news from left and right-leaning sources. And there's a reason for this. There's actually several reasons for this. One of the chief reasons for this, let's say that you're a total right-wing nut job and all you consume is Fox News, right? Because that's the caricature that the left likes to sell is, Trump voters are all these tinfoil hat wearing nut jobs that get all their news, their conspiracy theories from Fox News. Okay. The fact that they say that almost tells you everything you need to know. Because if you've ever watched the Fox News channel, right, consumed more than one a little bit of more than one of their programs, right? And as you've heard me talk about on this show, Fox is not your friend. Fox News, the best you can say about Fox News is they are not as far left as your MSNBC and your CNNs, right? The best you can say about Fox News is that they're not those other guys. The Fox News is, at best, the most central news source you can choose. But even if you're somebody who only ever intentionally consumes Fox News, or even if you're somebody who gets their news 100% from, pick any one of the far rights, hell, Steven Crowder, Alex Jones, right? Even if you're somebody who gets 100% of your news intentionally from one of those sources, you still cannot get 100% of your news from those sources. Because if you go to a doctor, like go to the VA clinic, right? I go to the VA in Dublin, Georgia. The only county in Georgia so I live in a county that went way over 90% for Trump. Dublin is not quite as far right as my beloved New Home County, but it's still a very white town, very conservative town. And you go into the VA and sit in a waiting room, you're going to be watching CNN. It is what it is. Airport, doctor's office, dentist's office. I've noticed more and more mechanics. If you're in a mechanics shop in the waiting room, you're more likely to see something like Fox News. But hey, let's get it going, guys. You can take that smart TV that you've got in your office. You're already paying for internet. Don't pay for fuck cable. Play Crowder. Play Alex Jones. Put news on play this show. Put news on in your waiting rooms. Fuck all those corporate media shitburgers. So, as of right now, the idea of Elon Musk buying MSNBC is more a meme than anything. He hasn't made any serious overtures about purchasing it. But he has cracked a few jokes. And like I pointed out earlier, just cracking the jokes was where the Twitter buyout started. And I love some of the ideas I'm hearing. Tim Pool said, here's what should happen. We should all get together. We should get a bunch of us together and bid together and buy MSNBC and Infowars. And I'll talk about Infowars a little bit in just a second. And get some other guys involved like Joe Rogan, et cetera, and we'll do for just like a week. We'll just let the whole same lineup run, right? Your Morning Joe, Rachel Maddow, all of them. But Alex Jones will be the co-host on every single show, buddy. I'd be there. I would run out of popcorn. I would watch the shit out of that. Cameron points out the corporate media shitburgers don't tend to say shitburgers on air. You are correct, and that is part of the problem because they don't call each other out. And in the rare event that they do call each other out, they do it very politely. They don't have the sand to engage one another in, shall we say, friendly hostility. Danny says Bannon was a silent bidder for Infowars. So Infowars was supposed to be sold in an auction as part of the settlement, or I'm sorry, as part of the finding against Alex Jones in what, if any of you have followed the story, was an incredibly corrupt miscarriage of justice. In the Alex Jones case, what happened was the judge decided guilt without ever having without seeing evidence or holding a case, never held court, and then brought in a jury and explained to the jury, listen, We've already determined that he's guilty. You're just here to determine what the sentence is. How much is the fine? You're here to listen to arguments about how hard we can hurt him. Right? So the whole thing was corrupt from the beginning. And Alex Jones just got absolutely boo-fooed by the legal system and by the court. So the auction happened last week, or I'll say auction happened last week. And when I say that, what happened is there was supposed to be an auction, and then at the last minute, the guys in charge of the auction said, we're changing it. We're changing the rules. Instead of an open public auction like the judge ordered, we're going to have a sealed deal auction. You enter your bid. You only get to make one. Whoever's bidding, it's a secret bid. Nobody gets to see what you bid. You enter your bid, and then we'll accept the best bid. And they said clearly, we'll accept the best bid, not the highest bid. And now it turns out that the bid they accepted from The Onion and Global Tetrahedron Incorporated, or whatever it is, their parent company, was not the highest bid. In fact, what they bid was some money plus the future earnings of the business. It was like, look, we're not going to pay you as much as these guys pay you, but we'll pay you part of what the business makes going forward if you let us buy it. No, you can't even make the reasonable argument that that's the better bid because it has the potential to pay more than another significantly larger bid, because you have no guarantee at all that once you strip Alex Jones away from Infowars, it continues to generate profit. In fact, I would go so far as to say that once you strip Alex Jones away from Infowars, it ceases to have value as a property generally. And from the reports I've read, they're talking about like the high bid was somewhere around $3 or $4 million. And just the physical equipment in the place is worth a little less than one of those millions. And the rest of it is based on the value, the actual business valuation of the entity. So when you see that happen, you can actually be relatively certain that there's just no actual winning there. And you'll have to forgive me. I know I just paused a little bit. I just got distracted because Rumble just offered me the opportunity to read a campaign to you guys, and they're only offering $1.36 for that one. So I'll start doing those in the future, but I'm not gonna. Well, I was about to lie. Apparently, I will let you break my train of thought for $1.36, but I'm not going to break off and actually read the ad for that. So I will take a minute though, since I have been interrupted. I noticed that I've got quite a few viewers on YouTube. Good morning, everybody. Glad to see you. I've got a lot more viewers on YouTube and Rumble than I am seeing chats from. So please, guys, get in here and get engaged, even if I don't have a chance to read your chats and comment on them directly. Our live chat is very engaged, and there are some great conversations that happen over there completely independent of what we're even talking about sometimes. So please get engaged, get involved there. Anthony Napolitano says, great shirt, I'm jealous. Well, I tell you what, Anthony, I make it a point to say this every time somebody compliments my shirts. And the fact is that happens more often than it doesn't. Almost every day when I go, if I leave the house and go out into the world, somebody says, hey man, that's a great shirt. And I always make it a point to say, thank you. My wife made it. And she did. So every great Hawaiian shirt you see me wearing on air, with one exception. I've got one that my mother bought me for Christmas a few years ago, but the rest of them my wife made. So I appreciate the compliment, Anthony. So Elon Musk buying MSNBC. I'm for it. I mean, at least for the lulz and the memes. I honestly, though, I don't expect it to happen. I love the idea. And even if he was just to buy it just to shut it down, that'd be fun. But MSNBC is a lot like slavery, right? We don't really need to abolish it because the market is just about to do that for us. We're right there. So no extra effort required. No extra effort required. Just let them die. That said, let's talk about why that's happening. Like I said, this kid over here complaining about the idea that Musk might buy it.
Shift in media, what Comcast is doing, could really overwhelmingly impact the future of mainstream media. And it's why it's so important that we uplift independent journalists, and especially journalists on here, for example. There's no amount of money in the world Elon Musk could offer me to shut this channel down or to start reporting right-wing conspiracies. It's not going to happen. And
see, that right there is a large crux of the issue. So he says that's why it's important. MSNBC, which he already personally, in his video referred to as being a left-wing news source, a left-wing conspiracy. Well, he didn't say conspiracy source, but that's what they are. They're a left-wing conspiracy rag. But then he says, and this is why it's so important to uplift independent journalists. Son, what do you think happened? That's what happened. Independent journalists were uplifted by Elon Musk buying Twitter, changing it to X, getting rid of censorship, forcing, by the way, other shows or other channels or other platforms. In fact, we should call them publishers. We'll get to that in a minute. Like YouTube and to a lesser extent Facebook, but other platforms basically being forced to loosen the reins, to back off. You can question the election on YouTube now, right? You could always question the 2016 election, and you can certainly question the 2024 election. But for a hot minute there, you could not ask questions about the 2020 election. We know on this show we've been thrown off. We've had to file appeals and won them all, by the way. Pro tip: if you do a show, if you do a blog, a vlog, anything like this, podcast, whatever, and you get a strike from YouTube, especially when you go to write your appeal, the first sentence should be, "You are hereby ordered, or you are hereby directed to retain all relevant communications related to this case. I will be demanding those in discovery." And then make your case. Start with, "Bring your records or I will accuse you of spoliation," which is the destruction of evidence. And then make your case. But we've been thrown off for saying things. One of the first shows that we got thrown off for, I talked about a case where right after the 2020 election, Brad Raffensperger, who was the Secretary of State in Georgia at the time, did a press conference in which he said, I shit you not, this guy's supposed to be a Republican, right? And he did a press conference where he said that it was so convoluted, it boggles the mind. He claimed that all of the YouTube, Twitter, whatever personalities, that your Steven Crowders, your Tim Pools, your everybody, including us apparently, that we were all being paid to lie about the election being stolen, to spread misinformation, and somehow that was going to help Democrats win more elections in the future. And he explicitly said that it was Stacey Abrams paying us, right? Because he said all right-wing personalities to spread election misinformation and to make you question the election, and that somehow that was supposed to help Democrats win in the future. I didn't make any claims other than Raffensperger said that Abrams is doing this. And it was weird. It was fucking weird. And that was the first time we got thrown off of YouTube for so-called election misinformation, which, of course, as we know, that was not. In fact, all you have to do is look at the results of this last election, and it's not hard to say, yo, Joe, where'd the other 4, 6, 9, 10, 12 million votes go? Right? So, a little more from this shithead.
While they're joking right now about the possibility of buying MSNBC, I would not take their jokes not seriously. It is very possible that Elon Musk can try to start some type of legacy media channel or even try to put in an offer for something like MSNBC. In any event, as we get more information, I will provide it to you, but be sure to follow along to be the first to know all the news.
Okay, and going back here, yeah. So he said, one of the things he said, come on, there we go. One of the things he said, oh, John Doe, hi, John. One of the things he said was it's important to uplift the liberal independent journalists. Honey, uplifting independent journalists is what happened. We are the news now. We are the news now. Tiny little podcasts, giant podcasts, right? Guys like me with essentially zero overhead. I am going to whoop CNN's ass. I'm going to whoop MSNBC's ass. Why? Because it cost me nothing to do this. This is what I enjoy doing. This is a hobby, right? Oh, it's too easy. They're going the way of the dodo, for one, because people just don't sit down and watch television anymore. They stare at their phones. They get most of their media diet through their phones. And quite frankly, when you do sit down, like, okay, yeah, I sit down in my living room in my big comfy sofa with all my kids and we watch TV, we watch movies. But when we sit down together and turn the TV on, we're not turning on the fucking news. We're watching cartoons. We're watching movies. Right now, I mean, okay, in fairness, we'll pull up the big TV in the living room, and the wife and the kids will gather around, and you know what else we'll do? We'll put up YouTube videos. We'll spend hours sitting on the couch together, munching on popcorn, and watching YouTube videos about homesteading, about building fences, about yesterday morning, I had to do it. Well, this was, I didn't have the kids with me for it, but YouTube videos. I went to the bathroom yesterday morning. The toilet wouldn't flush, and I was like, "Oh shit! Well, okay, let me hop on the YouTubes. Hey, my well isn't pumping water into the house. Sinks won't turn on. Toilets won't flush. Oh, okay. Well, I guess I'm crawling under the house." And there it was. But people just don't watch TV anymore. Yes, John Doe, we're live. We're live every weekday morning at 07:30 at a minimum, and occasionally randomly throughout the day. So, I have wandered far afield from the original topic, but I think I had a good time talking about it this morning. And thanks guys for tuning in. That's I don't know if I've got it in me to keep talking, but I'm seeing good numbers here, and I want to take a moment for everybody. It looks like all of my comments. Okay, so I'm seeing a lot of people on YouTube, and all my comments are coming from YouTube. I see one little dude is watching on Twitch. Hey, say something. Somebody leave a chat on Twitch and Rumble as well. Yo, if you're watching, leave me a comment so I know that the comments are working, because I do know that I'm not getting comments from X through this platform, and I'm still making the decision between using this studio setup or switching to StreamYard or one of the other ones. And of course, if you want to support the show, you can always go to this link that I'm about to drop in the chat to buy us a coffee, and we appreciate that enormously. That helps keep the lights on, and pay for camera equipment and costumes when we do the short films. We appreciate that. Fish and Golf just commented on Rumble, and that's great to see. Aaron Olson says Musk is buying MSNBC. Okay, so Aaron, you missed the beginning of the show, and that's fine. I appreciate you joining us now, late or not. Get yourself a cup of coffee and hang out. We do the show every weekday morning at 07:30. Thanks for joining us. And there's a reason I left a question mark in the title. Elon Musk, to my knowledge, is not confirmed to be buying MSNBC. However, like I started this show with, we have this, if you go back to 2017 and see what happened, Elon started with, "I love Twitter," on Twitter. And Dave Smith said, "You should buy it then." And Elon just said, "Oh, how much is it?" How much is it? And then, well, that's how history was made. Who would have thought that tweet, you cannot overstate this. This happened in 2017. This was the moment that Donald Trump won his third election. This was it. That's how it happened. Verified Bear says, "In a plastic cup?" This ain't plastic. So I'm not sure what you're talking about there, and but it's good to see you again this morning, Bear. So let me tag some stuff real quick. Aaron Olson says, "First time here." Hey, and it's okay if you miss the beginning. We like having you here. I normally do a half hour in the morning, and I was really only ready to do a half hour in the morning. This morning I'm still talking because the numbers are looking pretty good. So let me know, guys. I need to know a couple of things from the audience. Are you guys noticing any difference? Those of you who have been watching for a while, have you noticed any difference in the quality of the stream as it's coming to you since I've been changing streaming studio platforms the last few days, the last week or so? Have you noticed any difference in quality? And let me know what you think. How Hot and Wayne says, "Did they have to find a guy that looks and sounds like Randall Carlson?" I'm afraid you've got the advantage of me there, Wayne. I'm not sure. I don't actually know who Randall Carlson is, so I'll get smart on that and hopefully be amused by your reference. Oh, okay. The Renegade Scholar. Gotcha. I'll go check him out. I am a warrior scholar, so that he and I might have a thing or two to agree on and discuss. So I'll look him up. Great for a joke. St. Tommy says, "Glad to find you." I'm glad to have been found. I was I live in the middle of nowhere, Tommy, so sometimes I worry about myself, and I appreciate it when people figure out where I am because I don't always know. And I mean the exact center of nowhere, and that was on purpose. So thanks for watching this morning, guys. I'll leave you with this. Earlier this morning, I was doom scrolling Twitter, and somebody posted as a question something like, are there men left who, no, what was it? It was phrased weird. It sounded like a lefty troll type question. Something about, are there any men out there who are still concerned about safe spaces for women? And I looked at it for a second and I thought, okay, here's how I'm going to answer this question. I said, okay, gotcha. I'm a combat veteran with a body count and a little preparedness. I'm raising 3 daughters and a son with my wife in the middle of nowhere, well outside the range of any likely nuclear, biological, chemical attack in the event World War III does break out. And I have clean lines of sight for as far as I can fire my rifle in the only direction that I don't have natural impediments to entry on the property. It doesn't get safer than that for at least these 4 women. Right? So, yes, to answer your question, yes. And Aaron Olson, yes, women's bathrooms should be safe spaces for women. And I applaud and I applaud. Damn. I applaud Speaker Johnson for doing the right thing on the question of women's bathrooms, Aaron. He says Elon is a liar and a con man. He wants to stage a false flag alien invasion. Okay, I think perhaps, Wayne, you have read damn it, what is the book? The Watchmen. I think you've read Watchmen just a little too uncritically. That is basically the plot of the Watchmen. Goodness is outlawed by the American government, and then by world governments. Superheroes are outlawed by the governments, and then because they've been outlawed by the governments, there's a billionaire named Ozymandias who wants to bring them back, and so he fakes an alien invasion. Very funny. Chris, not me, different Chris, says Speaker Johnson is a worm. I do not have an especially high opinion of him personally, but credit where it's due, right? I mean, I'm not a huge fan of Bitch McCuckle either, but credit where it's due. McConnell is the only reason that Merrick Garland is not a Supreme Court justice today. And so, it's a case of a stop clock is right twice a day. It does not, however, justify keeping him around. If that makes sense. So I am going to go ahead and put a pin in it there because I'm about to run out of coffee. Maybe tomorrow morning I'll bring an extra cup and we can push out a little further. Should hopefully have Cameron on the show tomorrow. So y'all be safe out there, guys. Thanks for watching this morning. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.